I want to call the Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education meeting for July 16th at 6 o'clock to order. And if everyone would put their electronic devices on silence, that would be wonderful. And I have asked Ms. Barbara Jo Cook if she would lead us in our prayer, and Ms. Sue McDonald to do our pledge.
Our Father, we're thankful for this day that you have made and for the privilege of having a Board of Education to provide a quality education for our children. We ask you to bless this meeting tonight, bless our teachers, our students, our staff, our citizens, all who are concerned about providing a quality education for our children. And now as we go into our business meeting, let the words of our mouths and the meditation of our hearts be acceptable unto you, O Lord, our strength and our Redeemer. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much for that. Board members, you know that we have elected to remind ourselves each and every meeting about our Board of Education norms and protocols. We adopted those not too long ago, and we'll continue to adopt those on the first of every meeting of every year. But there were 10 major words that we had said that we were going to live by, and just reminding you different words each meeting. And July is positive communication. We just continue to work towards positive communication in all that we are doing. Item number 4 is our Griffin-Spalding County School System announcements. Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to say good evening to everyone in attendance and whoever may be watching on virtual. First, we have our new hire orientation, which is going to be July 17th through the 19th, 2024. Number 2, Griffin-Spalding County Open House. I know that's a sad date for some parents and some kids, but as Dr. Black said, we coming. Elementary school will be held on Tuesday, July the 30th, 2024, from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. And I think some of the schools already have that on the electronic billboards in front of their school, and that was good to see. Number 3, back to school celebration is going to be Wednesday, July the 31st at Oak Hill Baptist Church, and we thank them for doing that. Also, Griffin-Spalding County School Open House for secondary school will be held on Wednesday, July 31st from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. On Monday, August the 5th, guess what? First day of school. Let's give that a hand clap. Here they come. Ready or not. And last Tuesday, August the 6th, Griffin-Spalding County Board of Education work session at 4 p.m. Mr. Chair, that concludes the announcements for this session.
Thank you, Mr. Holmes. We'll then move to item 5, which is the adoption of the agenda.
I would like to add under presentations and discussion to number 6 would be professional dress code.
Okay.
Second.
So do I handle that and then handle the adoption of the agenda, or is that all included? Can that be all in one motion, the adoption of the agenda, by adding that?
Each one separately.
Let me get some clarification. You said item 6?
Yes.
Of presentations and discussions.
I'm sorry. Okay, I was like that. Okay.
Stay alert now.
Up on number
just
12,
adding
second
Under
page.
Presentations and discussions,
He said
item
item
number
6.
6.
Oh, item 6 under 12.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do it separately. You can do it together as one. You can adopt it as as motion to amend by Mr. Brown. So it's whatever the pleasure is.
How would you like to handle it?
Do it separately.
Okay, so that we have a motion, and did I hear a second?
Yes.
Motion and a second. All in favor of adding that, signify by raising your right hand. It'd be 5-0. And so then I would entertain a motion then for the adoption of the agenda, which that change.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Holmes and a second by Ms. Cook. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0. All right, we will then move on to item number 6, which is recognitions. Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Doss. Good evening, everyone. Our first recognition tonight is the Georgia Leader in Educator Acceleration and Development System, Georgia Leads. Okay, Ms. Battle, thank you.
Good evening, Board Chair, Board members, Superintendent Simmons. What an honor to present this recognition this evening. Georgia Leads is actually a pilot program for the new evaluation system for Georgia educators. And our school district was selected out of the state of counties within the state of Georgia. And we all understand that many are called, but few are chosen. So we were chosen, and because of this great work, which was led by Dr. Stephanie Evans from the HR department, we were recognized at the Godot meeting for excellence in education. Our school district is recognized for its steadfast commitment to implementing Georgia Leads with Excellence for 2024. So I would invite Dr. Evans to come up and accept this recognition. In the 3 schools that were a part of this pilot, we had Beaverbrook, we have Carver Road Middle School, and we had Spalding High School. Mr. McGavin is here today, so I'll invite Mr. McGavin up because it was collaborative work between the principal, the teachers, and HR evaluation team. So come on up and accept this recognition.
Great job.
You going, Miss Bobby? Give me that.
Slide forward this way because of the
I'll stand beside Jonathan. It's all of it.
For sure.
Great job. Great job, Dr. Evans. She was my 9th grade English teacher.
Oh, really?
She was. My 9th grade English teacher. Really? She was.
Lonnie, I'm not sure this microphone up here at the podium's working, so.
It's on, we can hear it, and it's picking up.
Is it? Okay.
Screen. It's loud on the screen.
Let me tell her how hearing aid
I'm not quite there yet, thank you. Moving right along. The Bully Award now goes to Mr. Holmes. Our next recognition is the Leadership Excellence in Mathematics Award. And hello, Dr. Greer. Couldn't tell who it was because of the sun.
Testing. Can you hear me?
We can.
Good evening, Chairman Doss, Board, and Superintendent Simmons. Today, I would like to recognize Dr. Shannon Thompson for the Leadership Excellence in Mathematics Award. This award recognizes an individual who demonstrates outstanding leadership qualities and contributions in the field of mathematics in the state of Georgia, including innovative leadership methods, mentorship and guidance, professional development, and inspirational leadership. Dr. Thompson is receiving this award for his efforts in developing and implementing Georgia's new mathematics standards across the state of Georgia. Please congratulate Dr. Shannon Thompson with me at this time.
Sorry, I ran over your foot.
Oh, no, you good.
They need to have you down here with all the cords and stuff.
We're gonna put you with Mr. Jones over there. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3, got it. Thank you.
I can say this about Dr. Thompson. Every school I've visited, with all these new math standards coming out last year, they had nothing but rave reviews for you. And when you hear that consistently throughout the system, then you know you got something good. So thank you, Dr. Thompson, for your hard work, and congratulations. Mr. Doss, that concludes our recognitions.
All right, thank you, Mr. McDonald. Item number 7, public comments. Do we have it? No one has signed up? All right, if everyone is good, we will not have a break and we'll just keep moving. Everybody good with that? Sir. All right, item number 9 is our consent agenda. Board members, you've had a chance to look at that. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your hand. That'd be 5-0. All right, we will go to item number 10, which is superintendent's administrative recommendations. Dr. Simmons?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board. It is my privilege and pleasure, if I'm completely honest with you, not that I wouldn't be, but it is the superintendent's recommendation that we appoint Ms. Robin Davis, the current assistant principal, to be the principal of Kennedy Road Middle School beginning the 24-25 school year, which effectively began last Monday.
Okay. Board members, you heard the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I
Second.
have a motion by Mr. Brown and a second by Mr. Holmes. Any further discussion?
Just want to say that we're excited to see what is before us, and congratulations to Ms. Davis. She comes from a family of educators. Her mother is here with her today. Her sister is a principal in another school district, so we know that you're going to do an amazing job. Congratulations, Robin.
Absolutely. So all in favor signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0. Congratulations.
Could we get Ms. Davis to stand so everybody that don't know her can see her? Stand, Ms. Davis. All right. We got to get her sister back in our system.
All right, item number 11, our action items. Policy EFDD, Data and Information Security, second reading. This is the second reading for these board members, so you have already heard the presentations. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
A motion by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Ms. Cook. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand. It'll be 5-0. Policy IFBD, the Media Center's second reading. What is the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
I have a motion by Ms. Cook,
Second.
second by Ms. McDonald. Any discussion? All in favor signify by raising your hand. It'd be 5-0. Policy IFBG, the Internet Acceptable Use. What is the pleasure of the board?
Move to accept.
I have a motion by Ms. McDonald,
Second.
second by Ms. Cook. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. That'd be 5-0. And I have policy IFCB, field trips and excursions on second reading. What is the pleasure of this board?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Ms. McDonald. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by raising your right hand. It'll be 5-0. And last on the action items, fiscal year 25 Foothills High School operating agreement. What is the pleasure of this board?
Mr. Dawson. Is it appropriate for me to ask the superintendent something?
It is, once we have a motion and a second, and then in discussion,
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
So move.
So I have a motion by Mr. Holmes,
Second.
second by Mr. Brown. Yes, Mr. McDonald, you're recognized?
I just wanted a reminder of what Foothills is. I don't recall, I'm sure I was exposed to this, but can you just kind of remind, and especially our audience too, what this is? So if there's some parents out there that really want to pursue this avenue and make a better educated decision. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. McDonald, board members. So Foothills is, in layman's term, another alternative to our alternative program. It's designed for those students primarily who have already vacated or left school without a diploma. In many cases, what we try and do for those students who maybe either shun the prospect of a general equivalency diploma, GED, or just aren't quite sure how to position themselves to get back into school. This partnership affords those students the same level of supports that we would typically provide, but mostly they are over age, beyond the age of 18. We do have some students, whether it be for housing reasons or what have you, opt to inquire into Foothills. In that aspect, we do have an FTE exchange in which we actually pay a fee for those students to be able to attend Foothills. They still receive the level of support that we would try and provide them, but, you know, again, for whatever reason, whether it be preference or locale or what have you, they opt to attend Foothills or at least inquire about it. Ultimately, Foothills is a partnership that's designed to help school districts, particularly with those students who have not matriculated by earning their high school diploma. So we see value in that. For those who may be listening online or for parents who may be in the audience, if you know of a student, particularly one who's left the school system, has not earned a GED, did not earn a high school diploma, they can contact us or Foothills directly about re-enrolling or re-engaging in the schooling process to ultimately earn a high school diploma.
Is that something could they do that at home, or do they actually go to AZK for that?
So they would actually go to Butts County.
Okay.
There's a site there in Butts County, and they would physically go on that site or go onto that site. There are some virtual aspects of this, much like we would typically have done if we had a virtual site. I think what I appreciate most is the non-academic supports. So if there are some needs or if there are some barriers that have led to this circumstance, Foothills, supports those families and those students to try and make sure that they can earn their diploma.
Okay, for those students who do not receive their diploma, do we somehow let the parents and the student know that this is available?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
very good.
we do. My memory escapes me. We probably have anywhere from 5 to 15 students now that are attending Foothills. Most of them are probably within school age, but left the school, whether it be just chronic attendance, life, who knows. We also have some who at one point were students in the school district. They're now upwards of 19, so they may not necessarily be able to earn enough credits within, the time frame. Foothills is again a viable option to getting their diploma.
That's great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, any other questions? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by raising your right hand. Be 5-0. All right, we'll move on to item 12, our June 2024 monthly financial report. Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, good evening. This is our end-of-the-year report. I'm going to call this an interim report because we're still going to be booking entries over the next few weeks. The Department of Education actually gives us till, I believe it's September 30th to actually finish all of our financials, but we'll be done with that in early August. We usually try to time that around August 15th. So I'm going to give you an interim report today. We don't normally bring you back another final June. We let that adjustments fall out in our fund balance adjustments, which will be in your July report and or your August report. So as of cutoff the other day, $43 million approximately in your general fund is our fund balance as of date, and then in the nutrition, approximately $3.5 million. Go ahead, Lonnie. Page 2 on our financial statement, we've got our revenues, and this is where you'll see a variance of where we've normally been reporting to you. So on the left-hand side, top yellow, about $5.7 million in revenue. A lot of expenses come in June, 8.9. So for the year, $100 million in revenue, 101 in expense, going up just a little bit more line. We're about $1.1 million in deficit right now, but again, that was planned. You know, we did a budget amendment last month, and the board approved us up to approximately $5.5 million in deficit. And we won't get to that, but that was something that we went ahead and got approval for as some of these expenses came in. So again, I'll bring you back some additional information, but we won't do a full report moving forward. And again, this will be audited by Malden and Jenkins here starting sometime in August, September. We're normally real early on our audit, so we'll see how that fund balance falls out then. All right, page 3 on our grants. Again, in June, the Department of Education gives us a cutoff date. Let's just say it's June 20th. They won't let us do any more drawdowns till approximately July the 20th. So we've got to catch up some draws here. So the top, again, is your revenue. If your bottom yellow is higher than your top, then that means we need to draw the amount of money that is on the bottom line there that it's in white. So we'll have to catch some of those up, and then we'll do some completion reports is what we call those whenever we close out the grants for each year. Some are due July 31st, some are due September 30th. All right, go ahead, Lonnie. On nutrition, so again, there's $7.5 million in revenue, go up just a little bit more, Lonnie. 6.8 in expenses, so he is going up just a little bit more. He's to the good about $700,000 again. In the summer, we accrue salary expenses that we have to pay out in the summer months, so those accruals have not been booked yet in these totals, so he'll have more incurred expense on salaries just like we will in the general fund. Again, as I explained earlier, we'll bring you back a revised total. All right, go ahead, Lonnie. All right, on our investment register, this is a little bit higher than normal. What I wanted to point your attention to is the top left. That's about $39 million, so close to the end of June, we moved about $15 million from our local bank account up to the state pool to take advantage of the 5.4% interest rate. And we have to collateralize deposits with the audit department and show that we have this money insured at June 30th. So that was a strategy that we did. So that means your bottom left now is $74 million, where it's been being $55 million. That's intentional. We'll just draw money down as we need it. As we begin our new payroll structure and everything, we'll need some money fronted for that. So, all right, Lonnie, go ahead one more time. And our next to last SPLOST deposit, almost $1.2 million again. So as I had told you before, we're over the $50 million cap, but we're going to be able to collect one more on our SPLOST receipt. So that's good for anything and everything that we can use that SPLOST for that qualifies before we'll start our SPLOST 7 receipts, which will be in August. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report.
All right, board members, any questions for Mr. Jones?
I have a question, but I want to make sure. I don't want to put Mr. Jones on the spot, but, you know, we went to this new payroll system. And I should have brought it to your attention earlier. But I would like to, if not tonight, but we need to hear an update on how it's going. Okay. Because I know I've been through it, going from getting paid once a month to twice a month. It has some little quirks that we have to work out. So if we don't do it tonight, if we could, Mr. Chair, get an update on how that payroll system is working for us.
And that has just started this month?
It paid yesterday.
Paid
Good.
yesterday.
And I'm happy to do your pleasure either way. It'd be an ad lib report, but I can do it.
You want the ad lib, or would you like it more formalized?
More formal.
More formal.
Okay.
I thought your hearing aid were down.
Let the record reflect that Ms. McDonald does not have a hearing aid.
Somebody go to Dollar General and get a Bully Award. Why are you picking on me?
Any other questions for Mr. Jones tonight?
I have one.
All right, Ms. Cook.
The NACOM scholarship, is that awarded annually to someone from both high schools?
To my knowledge, yes. I'll have to check on that because we do several scholarships that are turned into my office And that's one of them. There's 4 or 5
Okay.
of them that we're still looking at the amount of resources that we still have left.
Okay.
Some of the scholarships are not replenished, so when they're over with, that'll be the end of it.
Right.
I don't remember that one specifically, but.
So that one is not an endowed scholarship?
Right.
Okay, okay. I didn't think so.
But I'm happy to give you an update on that as well. On our investment register, Lonnie, will you go back up one page, please, sir? So here is what you're talking about.
Right.
48,000.
I knew when they left Spalding County, they made a significant
So
donation.
it looks like
to
that's
the school system.
48,000. So several of these are pooled together to get our scholarship amount of money, and there's
Okay.
5 or 6 that come to my office.
Okay.
But again, we're happy to update you all if you would like something on that.
Anything else, board members? Thank you, Mr. Jones. Appreciate that. Next, we have our transportation update.
You got your vest on. Y'all may hear it.
Good afternoon, Board Chair, Board members, Superintendent Simmons. Thank you guys for allowing us the opportunity to present some updates for our department. Today, we can go to the next slide. As customary, our non-negotiable is to be professional, be accountable, and communicate effectively. And that is my goal today. Following our 4 core our focus areas of literacy, enrollment, attendance, discipline, and SAR, which I think we play a huge role in that, in those parts. Our mission statement is as a distinctive brand with strong leaders in great schools, and the mission is to empower each student to graduate college and career ready. On the roadmap to success, we are at that bottom row, following from aligning our resources to student and staff needs. By that measure, we will ultimately, our organization will provide a operational efficiency for the student achievement. As mentioned before, we do have a new team in my leadership in our transportation department with myself. I'm here joined with Assistant Director Ms. Elam. We also have an amazing team that helped put these pieces together, if you will, from our team of Ms. Qualo, Mr. Newman, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Schultz, as well as Mr. Henley. I think we have a great team. I would be remiss with the success that we had. It's because of this team. So kudos to them. So the primary focus of my updates today is centered around reasons for moving to the new bail times, the 2-tier versus the 3 tiers. A little bit of background based on our 2 tiers and 3 tiers. With the impact coming from COVID-19 pandemic and the economic challenges resulted in the historic shortages of bus operators. At the time, we were short 26 operators to fill these roles, thus impacting 3 significant areas, which is our on-time arrival. Just a definition of how we define our on-time arrival is a scheduled time a bus arrives at a school up until 15 minutes. So if you can picture in your mind like other institutions like a Delta or a MARTA, if you will, those are scheduled times. The goal is to get there on time. So the second thing is our double routes, just an explanation of what our double routes is. And that's double runs. That's anytime a driver that does their current assigned route goes back into the community and picks up another route of students to get them back to school. That was impacted as well. And then another major impact was our operational efficiency. Thus limited our ability to really be efficient to support our other district programs such as the Program Challenge, GRCCA, and McKinsey-Vento scholars. Just to highlight a couple of these things, just want to highlight that we were, due to those issues and staff shortages, the on-time arrival went from 98% down to 92. We increased our double runs and double routes for our operators. And like I said before, we were significantly impacted by supporting our district programs. If we go to the next slide, please. The goal for this change from that 2-tier to 3-tier ultimately is to optimize the amount of operators that we had. Like I said, we did have a significant shortage of our operators to facilitate these routes. There was a very, very strain. If you can imagine the time window, which I'll show you here momentarily, there wasn't much time in those windows to facilitate a lot of transportation needs. That was one huge issue. Another issue was is to create those schedules that allow a more efficient use of our operators. So in the event of somebody's absence, the vacancies that were mentioned before, we had to be a little bit more flexible. So we could go to the next slide, please. So challenges, like I mentioned earlier, the order of that 2-tier bell time structure was different. It reflects the high school, then to our elementary and our middle school. If you can see by the diagram here, the door opening at 7 a.m., 7:15, and 8 a.m. However, the dismissal time was different, where our high school scholars got out at 3, elementary at 2:30, and 3:45 middle school. That posed an issue where high schools were getting in first, but elementary was leaving first. So we wanted to make sure we looked at that order. Was that best feasible for our operational? Another thing that we wanted to look at is those time gaps. Like I mentioned before, you're looking at 20 to 30 minutes or so in between those grade bands. In the event somebody's absent, even though we're short-staffed, it really made it challenging to really facilitate any adjustments. At that time, when one route was late with our high school scholars, it catapulted and increased the lateness of our elementary schools, and then catapulted down to our middle school scholars as well. So it kind of a trickle effect. We didn't have much flexibility in that facet. The recommendation was 45 minutes between bandwidth to really address that issue. If we could go to the current bell time structure. As you can see here, there was a new order of school schedules with our elementary scholars arriving first, followed by our high schools and our middle schools. And the time reflected here as well. The doors open 7 a.m., 7:45, and 8:30 respectively. Again, that 45-minute window, we got more time to accommodate more scholars based on the staffing shortage that we had. Not only the staffing shortages, in the event that somebody was absent, again, that really put a strain on us. If we're able to stack those routes, we're able to really accommodate more students with less drivers. With that measure being said, we was also able to increase our on-time arrival. Like I said before, that first 15 minutes, if you will, for our buses to get there. We also reduced our amount of doubles that we ran consistently, and we were able to address those gaps in our vacancies and absences and better support our AZK scholars, as well as the other district programs, our program challenge, McKinney-Vento students, as well as our GRCCA. So we were able to build to have the flexibility to help support those scholars with that change as well, being able to schedule better for us. So we really like that, just the structure, how it is now. We're able to be a little bit more flexible for those instances. If we could go to the next. Just a highlight of a brief overview of our on-time arrival year over year from our fall months from 22-23 compared to our 23-24 school year. We increased every month with the exception of our November month. That month we had a high rate of absentees. So those absences really made an impact. There's several factors that impacted, but that particular month there, we was definitely impacted with our absences of our bus operators. If we could go to the next slide. Here's just an overview of our full school year. We made a lot of gains. We had the pleasure of transporting over 6,000 delivered, assignments or trips or routes every single month. It's something that we're really, really proud of, to have a high percentage of on-time arrival, 97% and 95% for our elementary, 95 and 92 for our high school, and of course of our middle schools, 93%. Overall, we did a really great job improving our on-time arrival of 95% in the AM and 93 in the PM. There's still room for improvement, but again, we have that flexibility to better accommodate those instances that we have some absences, or in the event that we lose a significant amount of operators. So, and the best part about it, we're able to accommodate those district programs. Think about the program challenge, the GRCCA. We have a different location that we accommodate them for, so we're able to better support those. So.
Mr. Martin, is there an industry standard as far as those target numbers?
Yes, glad you pointed that out. Industry standard for on-time arrival is 15 minutes. Me and my team went to the Georgia Pupil Transportation Conference last week, 2 weeks ago, and across the board is a Georgia metric that is an industry standard of on-time arrival. That's 15 minutes of scheduled on-time arrival. So, and we're good with that. So, one thing I definitely want to highlight here is from 23 to 24, going into the 24-25 school year, just that second row, if you will, same operators that's needed, 94. Currently, we're staffed at 96. We have 0 vacancies currently. Yeah, I'll take that. We have 4 operators in training too, so we're really excited about that too. We've unfortunately lost a few team members, but we are at this trend. We've increased. We brought in 14 new operators to the team, so really excited about that. One other position that we've, I guess, brought on is our activity drivers to better support our field trips, our extracurricular activities, our athletic events, if you will. We're better to support them. So we're really excited about that and the direction that we, as a team, is going. So, like I said, we are going to, I guess, better support our scholars in our schools. So, and that helps a lot with being full staff.
Yes, Mr. Brown?
I have a question, Mr.
Yes.
Martin. I see that school year 23-24, you said it was 86 position staff, and for 24-25 was 96. What positions were added?
And this is only the bus drivers.
Okay.
Yes, this is only catered to the bus drivers.
Okay,
So,
all right, thank you.
Yeah. Bus drivers, excuse me, as well as the activity bus drivers as well. At the bottom is 2. Yes.
So those activity drivers would not have regular school routes. They're just focused on activity.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the goal, so we can really, again, work out from a position of strength. We can better accommodate in the event that somebody's a huge absenteeism, I don't know, or a instance that a field trip need to be leaving early in the morning, whether it's 8 a.m. for our elementary scholars or come back really, really late. We can really assign those activity drivers to accommodate that. And you're not taking drivers off the normal route. So we only have 2 now, but with revisiting our routes, we're able to increase our standby slot positions. So we're able to plug better as well. So these people really only for those extended circumstances where they got to go long distances or earlier times. So good question. Thank you.
Any, Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Doss. I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Doss, for adding this to the agenda, because that I recommended that it be added to get this update. I also wanted to thank Ms. Elam and Dr. Warren. They invited me down here last week, and I'm going to tell you, I was just totally impressed with the software and the technology we have now to help the situation. They can actually go to each school, arrival report, a dismissal report minute by minute, and it will alert them as to when and where there are issues. And there also will be one person in each building that will be able to talk to parents or a guardian about the late or the early or you missed me. And I was just so impressed. It gives me cold chills, because I'm going to tell you, Miss Elam, you're a rock star. She was going through that technology, the Traversa,
yes.
like she had been doing it for 22 and a half years. I was just so impressed. And it made me feel really good that I'm so relieved, because I've had a lot of requests from parents to go back to the old schedule. But we know now why we went to the tier we're in now, because we were short. But when I saw this slide last week down here, I just wanted to take a happy pill. Because to start a school year fully staffed is going to have it's just going to change. It's just going to have so many, it's just going to be so good. And when she said, you know, they had people, just like you mentioned, people in the reserves, I think 6, is that right, Ms. Elam? You have 6 people in reserves? I don't know, I was just totally impressed. And I just wanted to publicly thank you again, Ms. Elam, for your work, because I'm going to tell you, she's a smart cookie. Yeah. And you were out of town when I was down here last week, and I'm sure you would have been in that room too. And Mr. Doss, I wanted to thank you for adding this, because I think our parents and our stakeholders need to see this. There's probably not a whole lot of school districts in this country that are fully staffed with bus operators before a school year starts, because we have fought this now since COVID. Mm-hmm. And I just think that says a lot about you as a leader. I think it says a lot about the people you have hired under you. And I'm going to tell you, I told her last week that I want to be invited to the rodeo you all have to recognize people, because without bus drivers, without nutrition people, without counselors, without people that clean these buildings, none of us would be sitting here today.
Call the roll, Sue.
You're about to lose your seat. Because when I was an educator, my best friends were nutrition, counselors, secretaries, people that clean these buildings, because those are the people that keep these buildings open and running. So again, I just want to say thank you, because I was just totally impressed with the technology we have approved for them to be better served, so we can better serve our stakeholders and our students and our parents. And then the last thing I think she mentioned was that we're now in 4 quadrants. We've never done that before, because you've had buses that go from one end of this county to the other. How many miles is that?
That's a lot.
It's a lot in a bus. It's a lot in a car.
It's a lot in the car.
Imagine being on a bumpy bus like that. I don't know. I'm just totally impressed. I'm just thrilled for our district to be in this position at the beginning of school. So I wanted just to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Absolutely. Sure. Just a few more highlights as far as communication that you kind of briefed on earlier. As with the app, we were able to better, and that technology better communicate with our parents. Yep. We have a app called My Ride K-12. We had a previous app, had a lot of glitches in it, going from one platform to the next. That's since been resolved. When I'm at these bus ramps, I've seen more students use the app than the parents to actually see what the bus is on the bus ramp.
Sure,
so,
that.
It's pretty encouraging to see them use that. That app is actually improving every single day. It's online. Feel free as a parent, if you're watching or in attendance today, please download the app and track your scholar if you have a scholar being transported with.
Is that app online?
Yes.
Because when I'm going to the school district, is it on the transportation page or is it on the main website?
Transportation page.
Can we move that to, because a lot of people, when they are looking, they may go to GSCS.org. So can there be like a tab that just screams out that says transportation and like find your arrival time or something like that, so that we can provide that for our constituents?
That's a great idea.
I wouldn't move it, I'd just add it.
Yeah.
So it's in both places.
Yeah, put it in both places. But yeah, I think it definitely needs to be on that home page.
I agree. Yeah, thank you for that. As far as our community.
We talked about that and last week, and we discussed how to get parents more knowledgeable about the apps that we provide for them, and I don't know how to do that. I know that teachers and schools talk about it. I know that principals do. I know that a lot of people do. I don't know how to get them more involved, because I know through the years I had a lot of students teach me things too. They seem today to come out of the womb digital ready, and I say that, a lot of times standing in front of 6th graders, I said, I can't fix this, can come up here and fix it, and they had it fixed like in 0.5 seconds. It didn't bother me a bit. I was just glad it was fixed so we could move forward. But I don't know how to do that. So all the think tanks in the room, if you can help us solve that issue so parents can become more informed. That'd be great.
Excuse me, on our communication, again, we use the app to communicate with our students and our parents. And then our internal communication, we send our bus buttons to our colleagues in the schools. And then our on-time arrival report that you mentioned before, we share that with our principals and APs. And any long-term issues, we communicate that via email. And then we also provide the training access for our school-based staff members that may need access to track their bus, actually, to kind of help them out. We offer that training for them as well. So if you could go to that last slide for us, please, Mr. Harper. Just want to highlight a few next steps for continued improvement. Again, continue to recruit. I think it's really important to keep recruiting. Like I said, we have 4 in training right now. I think we called 3 or 4 potential candidates this afternoon. We're going to try to get them on board and set up for success. Not only just our standard route drivers, but as well as our standby and our activity drivers. Continue the training, like I said before, with our school admins. And like I said, really work from a position of strength to better support our district programs, specifically ones such as like I said before, the program challenge, the McKinney-Vento Scholars, as well as our AZ Kelsey Academy as well. So, well, again, along this path, we were able to continue to decrease those double routes, if you will. And then lastly, continue our recognition system. We've trying to foster an environment of inclusion, of rewarding them for their hard work and due diligence for those scholars of Griffin-Spalding. That's been met with a lot of success, so we'll continue to do that. So we want to keep those drivers that we do have, and the one way to do that is to continue to reward them for their hard work. So that concludes my presentation. Any questions at all? No.
Board members, any questions for Mr. Martin?
I don't really have a question, I just have a couple of more comments. Ms. Elam, I was totally touched by the way we handle our McKinney-Vento students with regard to the empathy that needs to be shown to them, the kindness that needs to be shown to them, and the respect that needs to be shown to them with regard to being homeless. I won't go through publicly how we do that, but I just know that it's done and it's done well, and I appreciate that very much as a former educator myself, because some of the stories I heard from those students were heartbreaking as to how they'd been treated, how they'd been singled out, how they'd been bullied. So I was really, really impressed with that. And Dr. Simmons, I know that there are a lot of potholes at the depot that need to be fixed. Can we work on that, please? That was a recommendation from my talking with Dr. Warren and Ms. Elam until we get to the new building, of course. And I understand that we will have a designated driver for PC. Is that what I understood last week, Ms. Elam?
Yes.
So I can jump up and down about that too. So that's great. I just really appreciate the good news. I really do.
Thank you so much. That was great.
Mr. Holmes?
I got a quick, just asking to you to elaborate on that increased support to AZ Kelsey. What exactly does that entail?
So in our redesign of our routes, if you will, so now in the morning and the afternoon, we have these standby slots, if you will. So in the event that, we can just go ahead and sign someone over to just like program challenge, to pick up these scholars and maybe look at where these stops are located, rather than being completely on the outskirts, and look at some more internal locations inside of the city areas too.
Okay.
We, again, from a position of strength, we're able to accommodate more at different areas, as opposed to just 4. Maybe we look at maybe 6 locations that we pick up from. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other board members?
Just let us know what you need, please.
Absolutely.
No, Ms. Elam, you're going to get tired of me saying that, but just let us communicate with us. We can't fix it if we're unaware of it. And the example I gave was, look what we've done for Griffin High School in the baseball field. It looked like a third world country at one time, and now it's magnificent because we were made aware of the issue and we fixed the issue. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next, we have our July teaching and learning update.
Good evening again, Chairman Doss, Board, and Superintendent Simmons. Tonight, I would like to give you updates for the Teaching and Learning Department, specifically speaking to the district's progress on meeting mandates and guidelines set forth in House Bill 538 as well as Senate Bill 48. You may recall that in April of 2023, House Bill 538, also known as the Georgia Early Literacy Act, was passed at the state level. In January of 2024, the Georgia Department of Education provided mandates and outlined what we are supposed to do as a school district related to this new Georgia Early Literacy Act. This act includes 4 components, as you see on the screen, including instructional materials, screeners, interventions, and professional learning. Professional learning does include another component, which is teacher preparation. As it relates to the instructional materials, we conducted an extensive textbook review and adoption process using board policy IFAA. With this policy, we were able to adopt SAVIS as the instructional resource for our K-5 literacy instructional program. That adoption includes instructional resources for all classrooms and for grades K through 5, one-to-one instructional resources for our students, as well as one-to-one instructional resources for our educators. I will note that when the Georgia Department of Education did identify 8 vendors only for the state of Georgia, that SAVIS was one of those vendors. It was a bit of a transition for our classroom teachers implementing SAVIS for its first year. However, we are poised to make sure that they have the support they need in order to implement it for year number 2. The second component of the Georgia Early Literacy Act includes the screeners. We did come to you in June indicating that we would discontinue MAP growth for grades K through 10. However, we are continuing MAP reading fluency. It has been identified as one of 5 screeners at the Georgia Department of Education level for reading, as a reading screener, and we are using it not only to provide a reading screener, but also as a dyslexia screener. Screenings will take place for our students in grades K through 3rd 3 times per year in August, December, and April. The December assessment will be the dyslexia screener. That dyslexia screener, again, will be given to all students in grades K through 3. As a part of Georgia Early Literacy Act as well is the interventions component. We are asked to identify students who are at risk or significantly at risk of having reading deficiencies. We will also use MAP to determine those students who exhibit those difficulties. Students that are identified as at risk will be assigned a reading intervention plan, and these students will also be served through our MTSS process. The next component and the final component of the Georgia Early Literacy Act is professional learning, and again, it includes teacher preparation as well. We are expected to provide classroom teachers of students in grades K through 3 with training on the science of reading, structured literacy, and foundational literacy. Our options for training staff includes the Georgia Literacy Academy, which is a free, self-paced online resource provided by the Georgia Department of Education. The second one is Orton Gillingham. We know that we have been using Orton Gillingham here in our district for quite a while, and as a result, we have 207 teachers on staff today trained in Orton Gillingham. The third option is letters. We also started letters. As of today, we have 37 teachers who are part ways through with the letters program, And as a reminder, we had about 40 of our district and school leaders to actually graduate from the Letters program in May. Teachers can also meet the mandate of this particular component by earning the dyslexia endorsement or the reading endorsement. And then finally, as teachers began to be hired in our school district, we have to ensure that by July of next year, that any teacher that we hire has been trained in the skills and knowledge necessary to teach reading.
Can I interrupt and ask a quick question at that point? So the 207 teachers, the 37 teachers, these are all kindergarten through third grade. What is that total number of teachers? Because I don't think I know that answer.
So
Or a close approximate. I don't need an exact number.
I will have to get the total number, and the reason I have to give you a total number is because we have teachers such as our special education teachers, our ESOL teachers. They don't just focus on one particular grade level. They teach across the grade band, and because of that, they are considered in some cases a K teacher, a first grade teacher, a second grade teacher, and a third grade teacher. Okay. These are the teachers that we have trained. We are making sure that we are working with the Human Resources Department to ensure that every teacher who touches a student for reading in grades K through 3 is trained.
Gotcha. Thank you.
The reason I'm coming to you today, because I want to make sure that all of our stakeholders, including our teachers, our leaders, community members, our board, understand that we have a deadline of August 1st, and we are ready as a district to meet that deadline head on. We have identified an instructional program and an intervention program that is aligned to foundational literacy skills, which is SAVIS, and we're going to ensure that we continue to use it in order to maintain all funds that are being provided to us as a school district. We are also poised to continue the administration of our screeners to all of our K-3 students by adopting and using MAP consistently. And lastly, we are poised to be able to provide reading intervention plans to those students who need them. So I'm telling everyone today that August 1st is coming, but we are ready for that day to come as we are in a position now that we have already met these charges. The next component to the presentation today is also updating you all on Senate Bill 48, which is the dyslexia law. That dyslexia law was signed into action in July of 2019. It includes 3 components, which you see on the screen, including the qualified screening tool, qualities of the screener, as well as the grade tested and frequency. As relates to Senate Bill 48 and the screeners, we will be using MAP reading fluency for this purpose as well. As communicated earlier, MAP reading fluency is not just assessing our students' reading skills, but in December, it will be assessing the characteristics of dyslexia as well for students in grades K through 3. The mandate not only requires us to administer it, but to administer it to a very specific group of students. So I do know that a lot of conversation went into the amount of testing that we're doing. We have no choice. Unfortunately, we have no choice. So this is something that we have to do, and it will extend the testing time frame just a tad bit in the month of December when it's administered to our students. Our next steps include making sure that our teachers have an opportunity to participate in ongoing consistent training with the proper implementation of SAVIS as well as MAP reading fluency. Teaching and learning, again, will continue to work with HR to make sure that all of our teachers are trained in the science of reading, especially leading up to that July 1st, August 1st, 2025 deadline. And by August 15th, Dr. Simmons will be able to sign off on his assurances that we have met all of these mandates. That concludes my presentation. I'll take any questions at this time.
Any questions, board members?
I just wanted to say thank you for the update. It's very informative and appreciate your hard work, and glad we're ready to rock and roll.
We're ready. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
That's right.
All right, we will move on now to our strategic plan update.
Board members, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair, board members, guests, staff. Unfortunately for you, I am having to follow both Mr. Martin's presentation as well as Dr. Greer's presentation, so please forgive me for not being able to perform at that level, but kudos to the two of them for the update on the work. Harper, am I driving or? All right, let's go. So you're familiar with our non-negotiables of professionalism, accountability, and communication. We are still focused on literacy, enrollment, attendance, and discipline. Distinctive brand, strong leaders, and great schools. That is the mission. That is the vision, to empower each student to be graduate, college, and career ready. So I want to talk to you about the strategic plan. I won't go into this concept just yet, but as you know, the blue boxes are the objectives, the green boxes are the goal areas. I want to highlight, however, the strategic priorities, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. This is the cover page of the strategic plan. We call that the roadmap to success. And here's our theory of action. Central office comprises of schools, family, community engagement, and all of those things leveraging our non-negotiables. With regards to the principals, they are the individuals who function as the instructional leader to create a culture supportive of rigorous teaching and learning, part of what Dr. Greer just talked about. With regards to the teachers and the support staff, that's where the fostering and the embracement of the environment where students and staff feel safe, supported, and valued, whether it be around instruction, whether it be around their personal needs or what have you. People can't learn in chaotic environments, and it's difficult to teach when you feel unsafe. So that's what we are leaning into our teachers and our support staff for. And then ultimately, it's all about the students. We're trying to expose them to learning experiences that will enable personal and academic growth. So another visual, again, leadership, teaching, and learning. That comprises the essence of our strategic plan. Those three pillars working in confluence is what this plan is all about. I want to focus a little bit on the objectives. I've mentioned that there are 12 of those, and you're going to hear a little bit more about those objectives specifically when I speak to the balanced scorecard and the way that the schools and thus the district has performed in the 23-24 school year. Ultimately, those are the four goal areas: organizational and operational efficiency, a high-performing staff, family, community engagement, and then the bottom line, if you would, student achievement. We don't often talk about the strategic priorities, but it's the strategic priorities that drive the day-to-day work of the school system, and I'll lean into that in just a second. But for now, the last time that I gave you an update, there's still, as far as the objectives, priorities, the goal areas, none of those things have changed. The initiatives have not changed. The number of action steps have not changed. What you will know, though, is at the end of by the conclusion of this particular school year, the staff in the schools and the district office has done a lot of work. That's just on this strategic plan. That does not include nuances, new initiatives, mandates, things that show up in the day-to-day. So I want to applaud the leaders, the teachers, the learners, the staff at central office, and yourself, because in schools and in school districts like this one, an urban school district that has needs, that has diverse needs, it's difficult to stay focused. But our staff, our students were able to stay focused and keep their eye on the ultimate prize. So here you have the 6 strategic priorities. We don't talk a lot about them, but I do want to give you just a moment to recognize how we lay them out. Do know that we don't start at the top, we start at the bottom. At the very, very bottom, executing a cohesive system and innovative practices. That's really the foundation of this house that we're trying to build that we call Griffin-Spalding County School Systems. Oftentimes, when you think about our mission, when you think about the day-to-day work, everyone wants to skyrocket to student achievement. It's sort of like building a house. You don't start with the roof, you don't start with the shingles. You ensure that there is a clean and a flat slab. You may not think that that's important until after you've laid the carpet or after you've laid your hardwood and things start rolling around the home. Well, it's too late to deal with it at that point, but that's really the way that we look at our strategic priorities. What I wanted you to take from this slide, in goal areas 2 and 4, we have 2 strategic priorities, and we'll lean a little bit more into those. So here's the balanced scorecard. 3 years ago now, or close to 3 years ago, I shared with our staff, while I don't necessarily get into the weeds of it because there are nuances from one classroom to the next, from one school to the next, from one home to the next, the ultimate goal is more green than red. When it's all said and done, my perspective is to ensure that we are demonstrating growth and performance. And the intention, when you see the balanced scorecard, which is really the metric or the measurement system of how things are going, is to ensure that from one school year to the next, you see more green than red. I don't offer that simply because there's more green than red on this slide. I offer that because it's been a while since you've heard me say it, and I didn't necessarily get to talk about it the last time I provided you with an update because we were really only halfway through. This depiction shows you how schools, how the district has done via the 4 quarters, and you'll see that these depictions vary from one goal area to the next because some of the measures are only captured in a specific portion of the school year. Let me say that again. We can talk about schools and their performance in reading scores, but we only get one assessment at the end of the year that really matters. Does that make sense? So while we may create and forecast measures, at the end of the day, what really, really matters is how those scores come back at the end of the year. That's why you'll see in some ways, a lot of these boxes will be filled all the way across, first quarter through fourth quarter. In some of these depictions, you may see some gaps, and that's because the data is either not collected or not available. Make sense? Okay. So when we talk about organizational and operational efficiency, these are, for those of you that, are familiar with, DIY, home and garden television, these are the bones of the home, okay? Starting with good bones enables the home to withstand the storms, okay? I'll remind you that we start with a bottom-up foundation. So we start with ensuring that we have organizational and operational efficiency. This doesn't necessarily only mean boilers and buses and biscuits. This is also talking about the way in which we roll out initiatives, the way in which we support our schools, the way in which we onboard people, trying to ensure that there's coherence and cohesion so that there is efficiency. Redundancy is something that we're really trying to eliminate, and over the span of the year, it's pleasing to see that the green that we may have started out with when everyone is fresh is the green that we ended up with. My grandfather would always tell me it's easy to look good when you're not doing anything. Now he was a hard-working gentleman, and in his mind, the harder you work, the more it should show. So I am not going to be naive and say to you that all is going to be rosy and all is going to be well, or all is going to be easy, or we're going to look great from August to May. What I will tell you, our folks are going to work hard. Our folks won't give up, and they won't give out. This is a depiction of that effort and that essence. High-performing staff, not just about hiring folks, but also about onboarding folks, also about training folks, also about retaining folks, okay? But understand this, we hire the whole person. We don't just hire teachers, we don't just hire bus drivers, we don't just hire administrators, we hire people. And then what we try and do is assimilate those people into the values, the vision, and the mission of the school system. Sometimes it's a great marriage. Sometimes it's not. That's how it really works in any organization. But what this chart depicts is that the things that we're focusing on, ensuring that folks have the skill set, have the knowledge, and have the resources to do what we're hiring them to do, those things are starting to pay dividends. And that's why, once again, at the fourth quarter, you're seeing more green than red. Doesn't mean that we ignore the yellow or the red. It simply means that the things that we're focusing on, we're getting better at. So more family and community engagement. Again, you've now laid the foundation. You've now gotten your I forget what they call those things. My granddaddy killed me. The slabs, the studs. Thank you, the studs. So this for us becomes the studs. The more that we, what do you say?
He said, you're talking about him, you're talking about studs, you're talking about him.
That's true. And this stud. But at the end, At the end of the day, as you heard Ms. McDonald talk about, we are going to exhaust all avenues at ensuring that our families and that our communities, one, understand what we're trying to do as we educate children, two, understand how they can partner with us in that aspect, three, work with us to make sure that the things that we're doing are having the impacts that we intend for them to have. So you're going to see parent engagement, you're going to see things like mentoring and all of that. The more that those things come to fruition, the better that students are going to perform as we complete this structure, okay? So, with that being said, and Dr. Greer will be able to attest to this, I considered and thought about and tried to figure out how can I slip you some information with regards to how our students did on the Georgia Milestone Assessments. Those scores, that performance is still embargoed. It is inappropriate, borderline unlawful for me to share that with you publicly. As board members, I can give that information to you privately, which I intend to do, but unfortunately, as it relates to how students did on the Georgia Milestones assessments proper, cannot share that information publicly, okay? With regards to our Lexile levels, which is how we, derive students' reading capacities and capabilities, we get that information from Milestones performance. That, too, is still embargoed. You heard that Dr. Thompson received an award for leadership and excellence relative to mathematics. Be reminded, even that data has not yet returned. He would be able to speak to that. While we have some other data, we've not yet even received Milestones performance as it relates to 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, or algebra. Am I speaking accurately, sir? I didn't even pay him to say that. But what I want you to take from that, when those scores come back, I suspect there will be growth in some areas because we've been monitoring that. He doesn't receive an award for excellence if we've not been able to demonstrate competence. Not just his competence, but the competence of the people that he's supporting, the competence of the students who are learning, okay? But at the same time, we still have a long ways to go and a lot of work to do relative to how we're performing on the milestones. I simply wanted to say to you publicly, I can give you that information privately, but I cannot give it to you publicly in the event that someone was wondering why it was not there.
When does it become unembargoed?
I'm thinking within the next 2, maybe 3 weeks. Okay, maybe the next 4 to 6 weeks. So let me share with you the.
So long, they took it in April, is that right? Is that right, April?
April and May. So we don't make the rules. We abide by them, and yeah. But here's the conundrum, board members, folks online, people in the audience, and I think Jonathan McGavin is still, maybe he's gone. Okay, but I do have a new principal here. She's going to deal with this. So here's what happens. This performance will become unembargoed in September. The schools have already established performance goals and initiatives and things of that nature all summer long, all spring. This new data will come out, and the conundrum is, do I respond to what I've already done, or do I continue to do what I'm doing? That's one of the nuances that has not always been a part of what we call education now. That's also part of why you hear so much about assessments. School leaders and teachers are really trying to figure out where students are, because at the midpoint of the school year, you'll be informed about how last year's students did. And you have to determine, are you going to stay and use that as guidance for the end of the end of the existing school year, or do you be mindful of it and continue to move forward? That's just one of the many nuances of instructional leadership, teachers, and in many cases, students. So with that, yes, ma'am, since the days of the graduation test, what we try to do in the district is we monitor cohorts of students. So while we talk about 3rd grade performance in the 23-24 school year, that 3rd grade performance are now 4th grade. Okay, so you don't necessarily look at third grade performance and respond to the next year's third graders. They were second grade. But you want to be supportive of every child. Our intent is to make sure that every child reads, writes, speaks, and solves every day, every classroom. So it's just more cumbersome. Fortunately for us, our leaders, our teachers, and even our students are still embracing, that work, that rigor. And that's why it's important for the likes of Dr. Greer to be able to acknowledge in advance of deadlines that come from afar, we're prepared. It's not going to always feel good, look good, but we're ready, and those are the moves and the pivots that we have to make in order to ensure that our students are exposed. Okay? So one of the last pieces to this presentation, and I know that I'm speaking relatively quickly, but I want to be able to take your questions. We did get some data back that was not embargoed. That data really speaks to college preparedness. So on the screen, you'll see things like the number of students who participated in work-based learning. You'll see things like the number of middle school students who are earning high school credit. At the end of the day, our vision is to ensure that students graduate college and career ready. I begin saying this summer, community, college, and career, because that's my way of trying to entice those who leave our schools to consider coming home to help build the community that they desire. So moving forward, you'll hear me talk more about community, college, and career. That's not to change our vision statement or anything like that. That's just my reminder that if we can't build this community, who will? Okay? And so I'm asking our graduates to lean into that work with us. But more green than red. This I wanted to share with you board members. Normally this would have been a conversation that we would have had as a part of the budget discussion to lay out pretty much how the district functions. What you're not going to see, with the exception of you don't see anybody, no names, and that's because we just don't have enough space. But I wanted you to be able to understand how we lay the district out. I also wanted you to understand how we, through the district organization, are aligned to the strategic plan. So as it relates to organizational and operational efficiency, while the deputy superintendent who oversees district operations leads that division, that is not the only division where we're expecting and we're striving for organizational and operational efficiency. Okay? That's why you heard from Dr. Greer sharing with you that we're ready in July for what's coming in August. That's an example of operational efficiency. We're not waiting until August to respond or react. We're being proactive in that regard. Those comments, if you would, kind of wrap up my strategic plan update for you. What I wanted you to know, as Byron mentioned on more than one occasion, next year will be the third year of our roadmap to success. I believe that we will be better next year than we were this year. And at the end of this 5-year plan, I believe that you will see, hear, and feel a marked improvement and difference from where the school district was when we implemented the plan in 21-22 school year. I'll entertain any questions that you may have at this time.
Ms. McDonald?
Thank you, Mr. Goss. I was just curious if we could get a copy of the strategic plan, because it wasn't in our packet.
Yes,
Could we
ma'am.
get a copy of that, please?
So I can give you the school improvement plan version, multiple pages, but yes, ma'am, I'll provide that for
Okay,
you before I
thank you.
leave this evening. Sure.
Anyone else? Questions? Thank you, Dr. Simmons.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, Harper.
All right, board members. Item number 4 under presentations discussions is governance team student representative. This is just a discussion that we have been talking about having, and so we're able to get it on for today to do that. I know that prior to the meeting, Mr. Brown passed out some more information that just talks about that. Today is just to be able to begin that discussion and what that would look like, and so, would you like to start, Mr. Brown?
Absolutely. When I got elected, one of the reasons that I actually ran for the Board of Education, I'll never forget attending, I think it was the Gen 6 at that time, scholars were protesting, and they wanted to come before the Board of Education to give the board their reasoning, and they were silenced. At that time, I believe it was Mr. Westbury was the chair, and I remember taking 5 minutes of my time as a regular citizen and yielding it to about 6 scholars at Griffin High School. And it just made me think about the work that we do. Why do we do it? We do this work for the children in our school district, for the 9,400 scholars that we have in our school district. We make decisions on their behalf every day, yet they are not at the table. So I think it's pretty simple that this is something that needs to happen. We were at the conference in June for Georgia School Board Association, and the presenter at that time asked, well, how many boards of education are looking at adding scholars to the school board? Griffin-Spalding, of course, was recognized, and City Decatur Schools were recognized. They actually have a student representative on their board. So, like I said, going back to me being elected to the Board of Education, the reason why I ran, and becoming a member of a national organization called School Board Partners that provides so many resources to elected school board members across the country. We were in San Antonio, Texas, and we just had our collective power retreat and convening. And it is so good to see the many school districts across these United States who are adding scholars to their Board of Education. Now, there are a lot of talk about, well, do they get voting power? Do they not get voting power? That is something that we definitely have to talk about. I believe at this moment, as a pilot, that we roll it out and we can discuss what that voting power will look like and the items that they're able to vote on. But I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we have scholars here using their voice. We have a scholar now, Zion, who has been very active and very involved in what's going on through the Superintendent's Advisory Council and many other different activities. And so whenever we are able to find scholars who are willing to be civic participators, as an 8th grade Georgia studies teacher, I always made sure that my scholars were civically engaged and civic minded. And being able to participate in local elections and having mock elections, because at the end of the day, it starts local. All politics is local, and you need to have a scholar on the school board so that we can understand what their perspective is. As a classroom teacher who also was advisor to Beta Club and Student Government Association, it is good to understand what our scholars are going through. It is good to understand, and a lot of times they give you the best feedback. It may not be what you want to hear, but it's definitely feedback that can help to assist them in their civic duties, in their educational duties to become college and career ready. And so this conversation is grounded around the ideas and the possibilities in what each of these 5 representatives, elected representatives, along with our superintendent, as a governance team, what we would like to see this information for scholars. And so I would love to kick it off by just having you have an article that I shared with you that talks about districts and states that have given scholars a voice on their local school boards. Like I said, it goes to talk about voting power and non-voting power. If you go to that second page, this past weekend, this young man actually presented at our conference. Mr. Andrew Brennan actually presented at our conference. So what I would love to do at this opportunity is just open it up to the floor for you guys to give feedback, and as we start to look at what this position will entail, what it looks like, and how we're going to provide support and guidelines to our student representative. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other board members? Yes.
The only thing I would add to that.
I'm sorry, Mr. Holmes.
Pardon me?
Let the bully go ahead.
I didn't say Miss
think he need
McDonald,
to hear an
but
egg.
I was referring to Miss McDonald when she had pointed at me, she didn't speak.
Oh, yes?
Go ahead,
No,
Mr.
no.
Holmes.
Ladies, age before beauty.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Let's see. I'm 50, just so the public knows. I'm totally in favor of this. This may seem kind of weird, but as a classroom teacher, every period I taught, the rules were different in each class. Because, and you may look at me and think I'm crazy for having done that, but they bought in if they could set the rules and the tone for the day. They weren't that different, but they were different. But they always had a voice. And I, like Mr. Brown, always gave my students a voice, and they appreciated that. And in fact, I think things went better because of that. So I'm all in favor of this, Mr. Brown. I can't wait to get home and read this article that you provided for us. I appreciate you doing that, and I'm going to do some research at City Schools of Decatur. I didn't realize that. But I'm all for this. To start the discussion, I think the big piece would be the voting, non-voting. Some things you may have the right to vote for, and other things you may not. I'd like to talk to Zion about this if he's still here, or at some point, to see what he thinks. But I appreciate you bringing this to our attention.
And at the conference in June, City Schools of Decatur, their actual student representative attended the conference as an attendee.
Wow.
So it was good to be able to speak to her and understand what she's doing in her role and how she's supporting the scholars in City Schools of Decatur.
Mr. Holmes, you recognize?
Yeah, Ms. McDonald kind of touched on what I was going to add. And by the way, Zion is a member of Grace Paradise Fellowship Baptist Church, where I'm the pastor, and he's one of mine. Anyway, I was looking at Elizabeth, and I just wanted to make sure that whatever they've done went through, school board attorneys, and wanted to make sure that she was instrumental, that we are within whatever guidelines have been set. And also, since we do have one school and you have a connection, there's no need for us to reinvent the wheel. We can just tap into what everybody else is doing or has done. But I'm all in favor of it, but just want to make sure we're doing it decent and in order.
And I think some of the things that scholars would not be privy to would be personnel hearings. Right. They would not be privy to other things that we may talk about in executive sessions, such as, real estate and things like that. But for the most part, their opinion in what they do on a daily basis as a scholar who is learning in our district, and to know, I've even gone into classrooms before. I remember when Lisa Pierce became the principal at AZ Kelsey Academy, I went over and I invited Mr. Doss with me to go over there and just to see how things were going and talk to the scholars. And there were programs that literally the previous week that we approved that they were using, and for them to talk about how helpful it was and how it provides a safety net for them. And so that's very important in understanding the stuff that we approve, the stuff that we spend money on, if it's beneficial to the scholars. And I think student voice on this board, there are, as a millennial and as the youngest member of this body and the youngest elected official in Spalding County, I just think that this is a true testament of a progressive movement of scholars having a voice and a seat at the table. When I grew up, kids sat at the table. They didn't sit at the table with grown folks, and they didn't talk with grown folks. Still managed to do it. But, as a classroom teacher, 8th grade Georgia Studies teacher, I would turn my classroom into a legislative assembly. And we would debate all type of bills and all type of things that were going on in our school and what were going on at the state legislature. And in this, 12 years of being an educator, there are 2 scholars who have graduated from college that were presidents of their SGA. I grew up here in Griffin and being involved in student government, and actually became the third president of the Student Government Association at Johnson & Wales University in Miami, Florida. So it is amazing, and was the first student to sit on the university Board of Trustees and had a vote. And so it is amazing to see this work that we do at this level, to be able to bring this that will be a legacy for our scholars, to show that they really have a voice in our school district.
Okay. Any other board members? I too am in agreement that I have loved what Mr. Brown has brought to the table as far as student representation on the in the meetings, not on the board, but in the meetings, as far as announcements and all of the different things that we have done in the highlights. I am thrilled with what Dr. Simmons has done with his advisory councils in the middle schools and the high schools. I see that as being very positive. I see this as another level of that. Dr. Simmons and I were able to be on a conference call initiated by the collaborative this morning about their YAC committee, which is their Youth Advisory Committee. So I have some information that I will be forwarding you from that meeting, so that, and this is totally different and totally separate from the YAC, but it is, it can dovetail. It's all student representation. I think all of us have been a part of GSBA's meetings where their YAC, Youth Advisory Councils, have presented or discussed. And so I'm looking forward to how all of that can work. The meeting this morning was just an initial, are we interested as a school board in collaborating with them? And so I will give you that information so that then we can begin to talking about if we're interested in collaborating with them on the YAC. But I think it's, all of that is great information. For me, it is all about what authority do they have at, you know, at what ages bracket are we looking at and talking about, what, how long and duration of responsibility. You know, we have a lot of students that, you know, have a semester where they're not playing a sport and would love to be involved, or, you know, but the next semester they're playing a sport and it may be difficult to be involved. So I think all of those things can be talked about and worked through in that process.
I know for a lot of different boards, they have some, so starting out, they may start with a 1-year commitment, and then possibly in that second to third year, they may do a 2-year commitment. I think my thing is, so that it's fresh, is that we alternate each year for scholars. And it can be early as middle school and high school, or if you want to add elementary. So at this is the time where we can start talking about what we want it to look like. Great to bring it, and I can write it and provide it all, but we are a unified governance team, and so it is incumbent upon all of us to provide that input so that we can get the best product to serve our scholars.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I too support this. I think input from our students is invaluable to what we do. I look forward to hearing how we work out the authority of the students and the criteria for selecting those students and all of those other issues.
And I have some other documents that I will share with you as well. In Ben Lapine School District in Oregon, they actually have Carrie Douglas, who is the co-founder of School Board Partners. They actually have 2 different policies that they're actually looking at right now that board members are looking at, where one provides what non-voting looks like for the scholar representative, and then what the voting issues that they're able to, like I said, so like Lear Holmes said as well, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are school districts that are been very progressive in their thinking to involve scholars in this legislative and educational process, and so we can kind of take and pull from each of those policies and each of those guidelines and create it to where it fits us here in Griffin-Spalding.
Okay. I think that if it's possible to get those to us via email or whatever, as soon as possible, at our next workshop, we can have further discussion, and then hopefully maybe by our retreat in September, we can be closer to making some decisions on some of this kind of stuff.
And we had a timeline a while back when I met with superintendent. We had a timeline, but I'm definitely excited to get the ball rolling on this and to have our scholars provide input. Like I said, I'm just excited that the board is willing to move forward with it as we create a legacy for our school district.
All right, anybody, anything else? We'll then move on to discussion regarding the resolution to form a committee to study staff dress code policy. And Mr. Brown, I will yield to you to begin that conversation.
Thank you so much. One of the things about being a school board member is being able to create policy. I shared with you when we passed the budget, there are three main things that we do as a school board member. One is to pass a balanced budget. Two is to create policies and regulations and things. And three is to manage the superintendent. And so with my background as a educator and a political consultant who has worked in policy and written local legislation and state legislation laws, I sent you guys an email on Monday, June 17th, which outlined what we would be looking to do to amend or update our professional dress code policy. Ms. Bowder, you're looking like, what is going on here? And in that, it's just we've heard a lot about in a lot of different school districts where they're giving teachers more money and they're giving teachers more incentives, and one of that incentive would be to wear jeans. And some may like it, some may love it, some may not. What this resolution does is it forms a committee of teachers. If you look at the page 2 of the resolution, it says, whereas the committee shall consist of representatives from the Board of Education, administrators, teachers, paraprofessionals, support staff, and other relevant stakeholders to ensure diverse input and perspectives, co-chairs, Mrs. Judy Battle, and the Teacher of the Year. And so, but it doesn't have to naturally be like this. I want them, the committee, to do the groundwork because we're approving this for them. So I want teachers, administrators and paraprofessionals, certified, classified staff to have a voice in this process as to what this will look like. And again, with no need to reinvent the wheel, there are a lot of school districts out there that have done it. If you're looking at it to just to put it out in front of you, the current policy is GBRL. GBRL is the current policy, and within that policy, it talks about it was last reviewed adopted in 2019 and last reviewed in 2020. The regulation in Part B is the part that we would be amending based upon the recommendation of the committee. So again, this is not to say that the board is going to tell you what you are wearing. The committee is to gather information, whether they are doing small group meetings, virtual, in-person, however you guys would like to do it, but just provide that recommendation to the Board of Education as to what they would like to see for their professional dress. I believe that if we leave it to our teachers to determine, our employees to determine, that we will yield great results. And so within that, I would love your favorable consideration of this resolution.
Okay, other board members, you have thoughts or questions or?
I do. I think Mr. Brand and I have talked about this on several occasions, and I'm all for it. I think most of you in the room know that anytime you can get feedback from people employed by you, the stakeholders, that's invaluable information that can be given to us. I would even volunteer to be on this committee because just like to hear, as a former educator myself, I would just like to hear what they had to say and what they come up with. So thank you, Mr. Brown, for bringing this to our attention.
Hey, I want to mention one thing. Like I said, as an educator, I would wear, and it just sparked so much discussion. One day I, went to school, I channeled my inner Dr. Richard Beaton. And so for those of us who had Dr. Beaton for Latin, you may call Dr. Beaton in a shirt and tie probably twice out of a school year, maybe 3 times. But for the most part, Dr. Beaton would wear khakis, and I would call them content-appropriate shirts. And he would have Latin sayings. He would have the different declensions and everything. And so I just thought about, like, with my time in the classroom, I did the same thing, teaching Georgia studies, and I had a T-shirt that said, "Don't get snatched." And that was in reference to King George II snatching Georgia's charter. And so that information, students remember it to this day. I wore another T-shirt one day that said, "I'm the plug." Everybody knows that James Oglethorpe is the founder of Georgia. But when you're teaching in DeKalb County or teaching in Griffin and you want somebody to remember James Oglethorpe, you can't just say that they're the founder of Georgia. You could tell them that they are the plug, and they will understand that the plug has everything that you need or ever would want. And the plug is the person that you go to when you need stuff. And so they remembered that in 1732, when Georgia was founded as a colony, that founder and that plug was who? James Oglethorpe. And so I think that it provides a different perspective. It's a walking billboard. Whenever I would introduce a standard, I would wear a T-shirt that had the standard number and what the standard is. And so scholars were able to see it every day. And so I think this would help in that professional dress policy for our educators. And, hopefully we'll see more content relevant T-shirts in this.
Any other board members have any comments or questions? I have serious concerns about it.
Okay.
One, I'm not exactly sure why there needs to be a resolution, to be able to garnish feedback. I think we are already trying to get feedback as much as we can, and I think our feedback through the surveys and different things have improved. I can see where you could be opening Pandora's box, so to speak, with these recommendations came in, and if you don't do these recommendations, even if the recommendation is on a borderline. So I just have serious concerns about it. I think that we are supposed to set policy, and if we need to revise that policy, I think that we need to revise that policy. I would love to hear back from the system on some of their thoughts, on that, where we're at.
Where we are.
And so those are my 2 cents, as far as moving forward with that. Anyone else? All right, hearing none with that, what I would like to hear is back from the superintendent, or, it doesn't have to be today, or from the staff as to those that are making the recommendations of some of those type of policies. Your thoughts on that, and so that we keep, before we just jump into something, that we have that kind of conversation. Any other questions or comments on that?
What's going to be the timeline for that, please?
I'm not sure how much time that they would need. I would think by our, not the next workshop, but by the next one, which would be September, that we should, which I think is also our retreat, maybe a time that we can have a more robust conversation. Are you okay with that?
I am
board
not.
Members? Other board members, are you okay with that timeline?
I would hope we could do it before then.
Correct.
So you're wanting a decision made in August?
I'm not necessarily saying that a decision has to be made in August. I think that it would, as Mr. Brown said, to get the ball rolling, I don't think we could do some of the legwork prior to the next meeting in August, I think.
So what I'm hearing is at the workshop in August, maybe just giving a presentation being given to us from system of what they were thinking? So, what do you?
Again, the resolution just forms a committee. It doesn't say that we're going to go to this particular attire. It forms a committee for them to start the groundwork. And so if that means that a committee is formed, then in September, July, in August, they're going to do this. In September, they're going to do this. In November, October, they're going to do this. So this is not to say that this is the end or beginning of whatever this is. the committee will determine what the recommendation is.
Well, and I think that's a little bit backwards in my opinion. And I think it's us and the system to be able to make some recommendations and us to be able to approve those recommendations or not. And I believe that we need to garnish input. We need to have a system for that.
That's what the resolution does.
Let me finish. I don't think there should be a committee put in place, because as soon as you put a committee in place, if their recommendations aren't lining up with what we are thinking it should be, which is the board and central office itself and the superintendent, the governance team, then you then create an atmosphere in which we tried to give you our input and then you didn't take it. And so the idea behind that is you don't want to put yourself in a position to where you have to do that. I think we need to have the conversations. I think we need to garnish input, continue to garnish input from our stakeholders, our teachers, but I'm not in favor of putting a committee together.
Okay.
I'm not real sure I understand. I just go back to what the committee did with the program challenge issues.
Sure.
I just think we did great work, and we had great results, and we included everybody in the community with regard to that.
And so this is sort of be the same thing. Only thing the difference is, I asked for the committee, but I didn't say it was a resolution to be passed. That is the only difference. That there was still a committee that provided feedback and did the work and provided recommendations which was guided and led by the district. The committee will be guided and led by the district as well. You have the HR director who is the co-chair of the committee.
Okay, and so the difference between those two things is you had everyone was on board with wanting to move forward that, both the system, garnishing the information, the board wanting that information. There was conversations prior to that particular meeting about the possibilities of that. You've had no communication or information. Have you said, does the superintendent want this? Have you even talked with him about that?
Well, it's not about what the superintendent wants. It's about, as an elected school board member, we are to create policy. And let me finish, do not interrupt me. And so in doing this, of course, in speaking with him today, because this email was sent on the 17th, I reached out to him today. So in the event, if there is something that he feels that he wants to do, then he should have a conversation with me, and then we can go back to the drawing board.
I have been reaching out to you.
Sir, I don't talk to you. So we're doing this in this meeting right now, and I'm working on myself.
I gave you permission
as
to
it
talk.
relates right now, I sent an email to you that said what I would like to do. If the superintendent needs to reach out to me for feedback or to move forward, then have him to do that to me directly, not you.
That is not how this works.
Okay.
And so if you want to be a part of this team, which for the last several months you have not been
a part of this team.
You have not been communicating with us.
And, okay, your point is what?
Mr. Brown, every one of us board members have been frustrated with the way that you have been communicating.
That's fine.
And we have reached out to you, and you have...
Mr. Doss, I'm done speaking with you.
Let me finish speaking, and
so
then you
in
can
the
talk.
event that the superintendent would like
Mr. Brown.
to move forward, you raising your voice, and boy, you already know banging that gavel is not going to do nothing. This is where we are with this every time. This is what you do.
You are out of order.
You do this every time. Like that gavel's going to make me just stop.
Okay.
As I'm advocating for teachers.
We may have to get law enforcement involved.
Well, get law enforcement. You're going to have me removed?
I might, if you don't
Mr.
stop.
Doss, go ahead and do what you need to do, sir.
Gentlemen.
Go ahead.
Gentlemen. We're bigger than this. We're better than this.
I agree.
You're right. Leader Holmes, you are absolutely right.
I'm just trying to finish my sentence. I've tried to be respectful and listen to you and allow you to finish. If we're going to work together as a governance team, if we're going to lead this district, we've got to be able to communicate and work together. You have shown yourself and have said that you're not willing to do that with me. Unfortunately, you don't have an option. I was voted in this chair. I only have 6 months left.
That's true.
And that's just the way that it is. So if we're going to move forward.
So if the superintendent, if you would like to talk with me about this, Dr. Simmons, You have my number, you have my email. We can schedule a time that we can talk and see how we're going to move forward with this. This is something that many employees did bring to my attention, and so as a member of this body, I am putting this information forth. That is my job as the District 1 representative, to put information forth. If the body wants to go with it, they can. If not, it is okay. I have done my part. So that's all I have to say to this. Thank you.
All right.
Mr.
Any other?
Dawes,
Yes.
But I like to add, just listening, you know, we really have personnel in place, school representative, teachers already in place. I don't know the particulars of how we can do it, but let's just, you know, we can table this and see if we can work with, you know, instead of reinventing a committee, we already got teacher representative at each school. So just to plant that seed, and maybe we can accomplish the goal that you have and Mr. Chairman have, and try to make this thing work for our employees.
Okay. And I'm open to that. I'm open to that. Like I said, I put the information out there, and now it's up to the body to decide what they're going to do with it.
All right. We'll move on to item 13, our informational items. You should have the bond resolution timeline and then the fiscal year 25 federal and state grant programs update information within your packet. That basically letting you know there will be more information forthcoming. If you have questions, though, you can reach out. As far as I know, we do not have anything for executive session, so we're at the place for our governance team comments. And we'll start with Mr. Holmes.
Should have started on that end, man. I would like to, if we could get, I guess, some type of schedule to maybe meet with Ms. Battle. There's been, you know, some discussion among employees, maybe Ms. Battle and Mr. Jones on what we've heard of what employees have concerns about the new pay schedule. Because I've gotten email, and I think some of you may have gotten contacted from employees, excuse me. But we need to make sure we address it as soon as possible before it get too far down the road. But I know it's new, and we're gonna have quirks that we're gonna have to work out. But we need to make sure we kind of set up a date or something that we can get together with Ms. Battle and Mr. Jones to make sure we cover all the concerns that employees they have about the new pay schedule. Also, just to bring up also staffing. We're getting close to that start date. I would like to see where we are as far as staffing, see what openings we have. I know a crucial one that I know right off the bat is athletic trainer. And with the conditions that we're dealing with and the activities going on, because they are already, you know, in full bloom, the football teams at middle schools and high school, we need to make sure we're properly covering these kids, making sure they're safe, and we have the proper personnel in place for their safety. So those are the two things that I would like to see us, you know, kind of tackle, be proactive about.
All right. Ms. McDonald?
I just wanted to thank everyone in the room. Congratulations, Ms. Davis, for your appointment. I hope you will bring lots of a great foundation and stability to the building, because that building's been through some ups and downs in recent years, so I wish you all the best. And thank you for being here tonight, too. Thank you to the cabinet. Thank you to everyone in the room. Behind the scenes, you know, driving down here tonight, you know, everybody works so hard. I know that, you know that, we know that, and I just wanted to say I thank you for that. Looking forward to the new school year.
And thank you, Dr. Simmons, for your update with the strategic plan. It was very informative, and I look forward to getting the copy I can take home and hold and study. So thank you.
Mr. Brown?
Thank you so much, Mr. Doss. Just want to say that day one in the district is fast approaching. Day one in the district is fast approaching. I started this program as school board member elect, and then to District 1 schools, and the following year we open it up to the entire school district. So it is such a fun time to see the many organizations in our community that come and welcome our scholars back to school and give hugs and high fives and shouts to them. So starting tomorrow, if you have not, you can always reach out to Adam Pugh to do it, but starting tomorrow, there will be a link available for organizations to sign up. Starting tomorrow, there will be a link available for organizations to sign up for day one in the district, and that link will have all the times, what time you're supposed to be there, because our elementary and our elementary and secondary schools have different start times, so we want to make sure that they're there at the appropriate time. But day one in the district is definitely an event that we look forward to every year as we usher in the year with smiles and much positivity. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Ms. Cook?
Yes. Congratulations to Ms. Davis. You'll do an outstanding job. We look forward to seeing you in that role and supporting you completely. Great presentations tonight. Thanks to all of you, to faculty, staff, students out there. Hope you've had a great summer. Hope you're looking forward to coming back to school. It's going to be here before we know it. As we mentioned, day one in the district is fast approaching. So we look forward to a banner school year.
Dr. Simmons?
Thank you.
I do want to say thank you, too, and there is the calm before the storm. Enjoy these next couple of weeks because it's getting ready to come in like a flood, so it will be great, though. We will be prepared, as Ms. Greer back there, or Dr. Greer said, in all areas. So with nothing else, I would entertain a motion for adjourn. I have a motion by Ms. Cook and a second by Ms. McDonald. All in favor signify by raising your hand. Be 5-0. Thank you very much for being here this evening.
Ms. Ray.